What's up, bass heads? Soda Pop Kid coming to you direct from down here in my storage unit garage. And I'm going to try to make this brief. I had did some tutorials on this alternator bracket here. It was built for me back in 2018 by a couple friends of mine out there in Ohio. And actually, like I said before, this was taken off of a 1990 Chevy TPI throttle body, this bracket. And what they did is they made it fit my 1984 Oldsmobile here, which has a 1973 350 Golden Rocket in it. Okay, that's what this motor is. It's a Golden Rocket. And I painted it silver some years ago, and I'm going to paint it back gold to its original color. But that's what it is. So they took this bracket off of a Chevy TPI throttle body, 1990, and they modified it to fit this Oldsmobile. And these alternators here are off of a Dodge Diesel Cummins big case. Okay. And they're 350 amps apiece, originally built by CES, by Jonathan Patrick when he worked for them. All right, Custom Electric Service. All right, and they've been on there ever since. But I had a problem with this alternator number 4 here. This alternator here gets real hot for some reason. And it's just with the car warming up. I can only warm the car for 10 minutes and this thing is hot. The rest of them are cool to the touch. And I was wondering why this was getting so hot. And so I took it down to one of my local alternator shops that just knows how to repair alternators, Murray Automotive Electric, to find out why it was getting hot. And he couldn't find anything wrong with it. He said there's nothing wrong with it. It just so happens it is getting hot, faster than the other ones, maybe because it's drawing more current. I might have to maybe change that voltage regulator there, number 4. That's alternator number 4, and the regulator, I have number 4 too, so I'll know which regulator each one of these go to. And he says nothing's wrong with it. He took it and he put it on his bench. He said there's nothing wrong with it. It just may be getting hot. And maybe it's that regulator, maybe. Maybe I do have an extra one. Maybe I just need to change that regulator. And I am going to get Jonathan Patrick's regulators soon enough. I'm going to get those. Okay. And like I said before, I'm going to get an electric water pump because this water pump is going in reverse rotation since this has been turned from a V-belt to a serpentine belt setup. It's causing that. Now, a couple of you guys did mention about getting a regular water pump that can go in reverse rotation. I think this company called Flow Cooler, who makes these special looking impellers on their water pump, man. On their water pumps that they make. They may be able to make me a water pump and make the impeller go into reverse rotation. I'm going to call them because maybe that if they do make those, maybe they won't cost as much as an electric water pump. But I think I want to get an electric water pump anyway, and Mazir sells those electric water pumps for just about any vehicle. I already know all about them. I had one before. Okay. I want to get an electric water pump for the various reasons of, when I go to purge this thing, I don't have to actually run the car. I can just turn it on in the ignition and the electric water pump comes on and it'll suck down the antifreeze by itself without the car actually running. You know what I mean? And for other reasons like, if I'm driving around and and it's extremely hot out, I can actually pull over and just turn the ignition on and let the water pump run and let the fans run, and it just cools everything off within minutes. You know what I mean? So what I did is I pulled these 2 alternators off too because I wanted to do a modification down in there. I wanted to get these I'll show you what I put on there, because you probably can barely see them. See that little rubber circle down there? I put on them, so when I get my electric water pump, the wire that comes off of it, I'll be able to route it up under that bracket. So I pulled these off so I can mount those. I'll show you what I'm talking about. These are rubber hose clamps right here that I get from Murray Automotive Electric. I like them because you can buy a lot of these accessories from them, and the wire can fit right through them. I put 3 of them, mounted 3 of them on there, up under that bracket there, so I can route that wire when I get the electric water pump. And what I meant to tell you guys is I've never pulled these alternators off this bracket since it was made in 2018. And I did do some tutorials where I've been going through hell. Well, I was going through hell with finding the right pulleys and the right belts and lining everything else up so they wouldn't slide off and shred like they was doing for like 3-4 years of me messing with this. I had to tweak and tweak. Well, anyway, I pulled these off, and it was hell to pay getting them back on and lined up for some weird reason. Getting them off was one thing. Getting them back on here and lining them up was a whole nother story, man. I was down here till 8:30 at night trying to get, but I did it. And there, as you see, is slightly, the space in here is slightly tilted a little, but yet and still, the belt's still lined back up with the way that I had it. So, you know, these bolts in here, this 7/16 wide, you know, these alternators, in the casing and the eyelets, the eyelets was only 3/8 inch big. And the guys that did this drilled these out to 7/16, and I don't know why they did that and just didn't leave the 3/8 holes, original holes in these alternators, and then they made the holes in the brackets be 7/16 wide. If they would have left everything 3/8, what I think I'm gonna do is the next time I pull these, I'm gonna take and put a 3/8 inch in place of the 7/16 inch bolts, like I had to do when I put these pulleys, when I moved these pulleys up in that area. Okay. They're 3/8 inch big, and therefore the alternators will be able to maneuver around a little bit, and I can tighten them where I want them to be, and it'll be easier to get them on. Now I'm going to leave that 7/16 bolt, I'm going to leave that be, so that can hold it in place. So when I tighten it, it'll stay. Okay, so I can be able to, you know, unbelievable. They said if it ain't one thing, it's another. You know. Yeah, and this one just had to come off of here to find out why it was getting hot. And they said nothing was the matter with it, and still it does get hot quick, which is weird. I don't know. I haven't been down here messing with this thing all winter, just firing it up once a week so it can run. That's all I've been doing, is firing it up once a week so it can run. You know, so the fluids can keep flowing through here. Oh, and I changed the valve covers. I put brand new valve covers on yesterday because my valves was leaking. You know, over the years they were leaking, and I didn't want them leaking oil. So I put new valve covers on. As you see, I put, I changed some things on here. I put on the, what do you call those? I forgot the name of those nuts, even though I use them. Coupler nuts. I put coupler nuts and I put studs in them. I put 3/4 inch studs in them so I can just slide the covers on without trying to find the holes, people. As a matter of fact, I like to tell Artius, if he's watching this, who did this bracket. Remember we was having problems? See that water pump pulley and that crank pulley? remember we was having problems where we was just trying to we had to put spacers behind those two pulleys to space them out so they can line up with all the rest of the pulleys. Remember we was like doing 1 5/16 inch bolt at a time with washers on the back of it and they kept falling off? Well, I found a remedy to that, homie. Studs. Just use water pump or carburetor studs, where you can just put the studs in, slide the washers on, and just slide that on without going through all of that problem. Just look at all the problems I was going through pulling them off and trying to put them on. And I got studs on them now. So I've gotten to the habit of studs. And when that water pump comes off, I ordered studs. Studs, bro. 5/16 studs to put on. Just put them on first. But the good thing about the electric pump is there's only 4 bolt holes on the electric pump. It's only the main bolt holes, 2 on one side, 2 on the other on the electric water pump. It doesn't have bolts going all the way around it like original water pump does. I wish they would make original water pumps like that, where you don't have to bolt on, put all those bolts and nuts and bolts on. It makes life a lot easier. But when I take that off, I'm going to start using the studs to just slide on so you don't have to find each hole. There, Artists. That's what I did with the valve covers and all that. And I put the sealing on for the gasket already on the valve cover so to hold it on. Or I could have just slid the valve cover gasket down on the studs first, and then just slid over to, and everything would have stayed in place. That's what all that's for. I came up with easier ways to do things there, partner. Okay, making things hard. But pulling these on and off it's all good. It's all good. Now that I have everything lined up, it's all good. But I really wish you would have made the bracket the way you did on your tow truck, bro. And it would have been remove and replace with the greatest of ease. I bet you that. I bet you that. Oh, and I wanted to show you guys. See that there? That's a bus bar, especially for ignition wires. It jumps from that bus bar. I just wanted to show y'all this. And then there's another one on this side as well, right there. And so what happens is it comes, the ignition I have plugged into the fuse box under the dash. Who likes climbing under the dash all of the time? Okay? To plug in wires in the fuse box. So I made those jumpers. So whenever I put on something new out here and it needs a 12 volt relay like the 80 amp Super Duty there and all those relays right there and the Super Duty over here and the relays that when I put on an electric water pump and I give it its own 40 amp relay, I'm able to just run the ignition and just jumping right on there, man. Instead of going down through the dash panel and up under there and running a wire and climbing under that doggone dashboard, I jump them right on there. Boom. Them is all ignitions. So ignition comes out from under the dash, or a main ignition, and then it hits that. All right, one main ignition, maybe 2, and boom. And then I jump from that one across there over to the other one. And it's ignitions where I don't have to go through the hole and under the dashboard. It makes life a whole lot easier, man. I'm getting ready to take the carburetor main ignition wire and run it there too. That's what I'm going to do. And cut the carburetor ignition and jump it to here. Oh, man. All right, people. That's all I wanted to talk about here. Oh, last but not least, that crank pulley with the serpentine belt set up on it. It's hard to find the 6-groove rib serpentine belt crank pulleys now. Even for Chevy, they got these new age ones, man. And they got the ones with only 3 bolt holes. That has the 4 bolt holes on it. It's hard to, and for the Oldsmobiles too. They don't, the old school Oldsmobiles that had when they came out with serpentine belt setups, or even Chevys. I know that the Chevy one will line up with an Oldsmobile harmonic balancer. You know what I mean? And probably Pontiac and Buick as well. You cannot find the old school crank pulleys, man. And then what? I looked on Summit. They got all this new school 3-bolt ones, man. Like, what that, tell me where you possibly can find. I know a junkyard. If I could go to a junkyard, I was trying to get a new one. And I know Ford has an aluminum one made by March Performance. But Ford do not line up. They don't line up with Oldsmobile and all that. You would probably have to take and line it up and drill holes in it. That can be done. I've seen a guy do that on YouTube for his 455 rebuild olds. Yeah. And a newer model, there's a newer model Chevy that that thing is heavy. This is heavy as a harmonic balance. The holes did line up, but it's like 8 inches in diameter big too, and like super heavy like the harmonic balance is itself. Unbelievable. And they ordered one in advance, and I went to go pull this one off to check to see if that one, the holes line up. Yeah, the holes lined up, but that's a 8-inch diameter. This thing is big and heavy. Like, it feel like a harmonic balance itself. And it may, I just was like, nah. I told him to send it back. Just in case I need another one. I may have to go to a junkyard, people. Soda Pop Kid over and out.